Hi podcasters, we are Listen and Win, and we are so excited for you to join us, our viewers and our listeners, for today's episode. We have got the amazing Caitlin, one of our top presenters, also does all our social media, and today's guest, well, what an introduction. I've known this young man since I was in my teens, and he doesn't look old enough, but I've known him a long time, since we were teenagers. Graham Richards is an educationalist. He's been what he doesn't know about teaching, you could write on a stamp. The guy is amazing, and he's got amazing experience. He's spoken in lots of different settings and scenarios, and we're thrilled to have you here today, Graham.
Thanks so much for having me, Si.
So, Graham, would you just start by just sharing with me and Caitlin and our viewers and listeners just a little bit about yourself, just a bit of an introduction?
Okay, so I went to school in Liverpool. I live in Liverpool. I've went and did my degree in Huddersfield and then transferred to Liverpool. And I did a degree in mechanical engineering. And then I went from working in British nuclear fuels, keeping the country safe, making sure uranium didn't go boom. And then that was got a bit boring. So I decided to become a teacher. So I did a PGCE and I converted to be a teacher. And I've been doing that for about 25 years.
It's a long time.
Old enough to so been teaching for 25 years. And in that time, I started off as a classroom teacher, but then I moved up to being in charge of sort of careers and work experience, sending all the students out to go and get some experience of life. And then I became in charge of sort of enterprise education. So that's where you're trying to get the students to be able to look at a business model, try and put forward what they might be able to do to sort of create some kind of business or entrepreneurship. And then I moved into being a senior leader. So I was an assistant head in the same school. And then from there, I then moved into being the head of design and technology, but also the director of STEM. So I'm very sort of mechanically minded, very sort of design orientated. If there's something to be fixed, I'll fix it. But I've loved my career. It's been great. And I've had the privilege of teaching many great students.
Graham can basically fix anything. He's like Liverpool's answer to Bob the Builder. I mean, but a far more tech savvy Bob the Builder. He is amazing. But great! It's so great to have you here today. Now we're going to break you in gently, because me and Caitlin wouldn't just throw you in. Okay, so we're going to start off by if you could just share with us some of your speaking influences. So that's people, celebrities, professionals, amateurs who are great speakers, great communicators who've inspired you, from maybe childhood or youth or, in your adult life.
Yeah, sure. So I actually teach in the school that I went to. And while I was there was a guy called Mr. Miller. And he would do assemblies from time to time. And I know that from time to time he was doing the assembly because somebody else hadn't turned up. And he had this amazing ability to come up with an amazing speech on the spot, but he'd do it in a way where it felt like there would be 600 kids in this room, but he'd do the assembly as if he was just talking to you. And that's a real skill because, you deliver your speech and you're hoping that everyone's listening, but to get the speech to feel like it is just directed at you, incredibly gifted person. And I kind of was in awe of it. I was like, that's amazing. How can you do that? How can you get a load of lads, 600 odd lads, to pay attention that closely, but also to make it feel like that's just been written for me? And it wasn't, he just made it up. It's probably 20 minutes earlier, but his experience must have been so great that he was able just to draw quotes and sayings, and he just pulled these great speeches together. So he was one person, but I love it when people get injected a bit of humour. And as I was growing up, one of the guys, I saw him I think he was on Parkinson, and it was Billy Connolly.
Oh, wow.
And he has this amazing way of having a conversation which is really funny with an entire audience. So he could tell jokes, obviously, but some of the jokes would just be his life experience. And it would just create some kind of connection between him and the 3,000, 5,000, however many people are there. Yeah. And it felt like you were having a conversation with him, like you might do in a pub with somebody. But he's doing that to thousands of people. And I thought, that's a real gift, how do you do that? How do you think of that kind of stuff? How do you get that connection? And then when I went into education, there was a guy called Sir Ken Robinson. Sadly, he's passed away now, but he was brilliant at sort of making me think, what do I need to be like as a teacher? He was brilliant at, my subject is design and technology. Yeah. He was a brilliant exponent of that, and thinking about how students could be creative and how they should be able to use the different ranges of abilities to be able to overcome obstacles. And the way he could communicate it, it just sort of drew everybody in. And so at a time when some people weren't sure what the direction of education should be, he was kind of spearheading, I think we should go this way. And a lot of people sort of caught on to this sort of enthusiasm and the way he communicated it. So he's probably my professional person that has influenced me the most.
Brilliant. Now, Caitlin, I didn't get to ask you this question because I interviewed you with Graham Forrest, our amazing graphic designer / presenter. So I didn't get to ask you this. So I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh, gosh.
So I hope you're not being too annoyed at me. So can you think of any famous people, celebrities, maybe professionals, amateurs, teachers, people who've influenced you, who are amazing speakers, amazing communicators? Are there any that you can share with us who've really inspired you?
Famous? Does it have to be famous?
Well, no, it can like, you know, Graham's mentioned people we don't know. It doesn't, famous or non-famous, it's up to you.
That's a tough one. It's hard to think because I feel like I've met so many amazing people in my life. And it's always like the tiniest little thing that you get from each. Well,
what about famous people that we'll know then? Who you think they're great speakers, they're really confident, they communicate really well? Who you know your kind of go-to kind of celebrity? Maybe your favourite actor or actress or.
You know, weirdly, who was amazing, like on stage, I went to go and watch George Ezra at Lytham Festival years and years ago. And the way he spoke to us as a crowd was really amazing. It's like nothing a musician's ever done before. He was just lovely, and he was like really like quite intimate, even though it was a festival and there was thousands and thousands and thousands of people there. He was amazing. I was quite impressed with him. That's
brilliant. Because Graham, I know you've been to loads of concerts, haven't you? And the ones I've been to, I find it, you know, this is an opportunity for the artist to connect with the audience. And what I've seen a lot of the times is they're not interested. Some will have this brilliant connection, like was it George Ezra?
George Ezra, yeah.
And then other times it's like, you know, they're swearing and snarling and, you know, at the audience, like it's the last thing. Have you ever seen that where someone's like either not interested or has a really good relationship with the crowd?
I went to see Robbie Williams years ago. I love Robbie Williams.
Who doesn't?
What an entertainer. He got a whole Mexican wave going around it all.
Amazing.
And like was just getting everybody involved.
Yeah.
Just not by just his performance, and he's high energy anyway, but the way he was interacting with the audience was brilliant. I loved it. It was a great experience. But I know some people don't necessarily do that, and you think like we've had people doing presentations for me. I remember when I was working for British Nuclear Fuels, someone gave me a presentation on health and safety, which is not the most thrilling thing anyway. And the guy spoke incredibly slowly and really quietly, and he's going, imagine how dangerous it is if you are walking. Times that by 10 if you run. And I'm like, okay. I know it's a nuclear reactor, but, you know, maybe just make it a little bit more interesting for us. So, yeah, having that kind of interaction with the audience and having that connection, so key.
So you give us a performer, give us one more. I want you to think of someone, like you love your social media. Is there anyone on social media who talks really well?
Question. Have you ever heard of Elise Myers?
Elise Myers Gray. Have you heard of Elise Myers?
Fill me in, Caitlin.
Never.
She's on TikTok and she is just like an influencer these days. But she talks really, really well. Like it feels like you're having a conversation with her when you watch her videos, which is really nice. I quite like her. She's good.
Excellent, brilliant. Okay, well, there's some influences on our speaking lives. So, Graham, first question to you to get into the meat and bones. Now we've done all the niceties. Where is the meat?
Tough
and bones?
questions coming out.
This is again. If I didn't say at the start, we are producing this podcast service free of charge to young people and adults, and it's designed to help you beat your fear of speaking. So you can become more confident, so you can become more employable, so you can smash that job interview, that difficult negotiation, diffuse that tense situation, and start winning in life, okay? So it's great to have Graham here with all his speaking experience. I've known him for years, been so looking forward to doing this interview. So here's my first question. Graham, now you come across to me, and most people who know you would say you're a very confident guy. There's lots of different hats you wear where you're like extremely confident. Going back, and I want you to go back in the day, prehistoric Jurassic times, when you were a child. I'm really joking. Back when you were a kid, what was your confidence like as a child and with regards to speaking? Okay,
so with an education hat on now, I've got sort of training experience of different sort of difficulties that students have and have to overcome. Back then, there wasn't that much knowledge about stuff, so I would say that I probably had quite severe social anxiety. Really quite severe social anxiety. Almost on the sort of verge of paranoia.
Wow.
And I would be in social settings from maybe from 11 up to like 18, 19, 20. And I'd find it really, really worrying. And I'd be worried about what I'd say just in a conversation. Thinking, I'm going to get that wrong. Someone's going to judge me for that. I'm like, people won't like me. And it's kind of an overriding, horrible sensation. You know, on the way here, had tiny little flutters because I've not done a podcast before, you know. Ooh. But at the time, it was like elephants bouncing across my stomach. Like, it was like, I feel physically sick. And that kind of continued. So as I went through school and as I moved towards being a sort of an older teenager, I still would experience that. And I wasn't really sure how to get over it, really. It just seemed to happen. And now I know it's all to do with the chemicals going through your brain, you know, so dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. So I know what's happening now. But back then I didn't. So I found it really difficult. But I remember hearing a few people talking about, you know, their life experiences, and they gave some quotes. And there was a quote, I think it's accredited to Mark Twain, but I don't actually think it was Mark Twain. And he said that 20 years from now, you'd be more disappointed about the things that you didn't do than the things that you did.
Yeah, great quote.
So I heard that, I was like, right, okay, I can no longer sit on the sidelines of life. Wow. I can't allow myself to go through this sort of situation anymore. So I've got to do something about it. So I took a decision then to try and, I didn't understand the chemicals and I didn't understand what you could do about it. But I was like, right, I'm not going to allow this to hold me back anymore. Brilliant. So that was one of the reasons why I became a teacher, because I did my degree in mechanical engineering and I still experienced those sort of difficulties. It got less as I got older, but I was still, if I had to do something in public, if I had to speak anywhere, my stomach would be churning. I was like, I can't carry on doing that. So one of the reasons I became a teacher was to face that fear. So instead of just being gripped by the fear and controlled by the fear, I thought, right, okay, well, let's listen to Mark Twain. Let's sit that on its head.
Brilliant.
And then I'll control that. And I still get the fear. Yeah. But I'm in control.
Well, great. I mean, it's really honest of you to share that, and it's really helpful. So just for viewers and for listeners, you know, when you talk about that social anxiety, I know you mentioned the chemical side of it, but what was it that you were actually fearful of in those settings? Can you kind of put labels on it? Was there anything that you could say, well, you know, tangibly, it was this or it was that?
Yeah, so at the time, it was a case of fear of rejection, I suppose.
Oh, right.
So it was like, if I don't say the right thing, will someone not like it? Right. How do I build friendships? And not quite understanding that. And so I don't think I was particularly great at building those friendships. So you feel a little bit like you're on the outside. Yeah. And I spent a bit of time observing other people and going, that's how you do it. Oh, that's the right way. So if you're enthusiastic with somebody else, they're enthusiastic with you. If you're pleasant with somebody else, they're pleasant with you. Not that it was unpleasant, but so I learned some of those strategies, but some of it just comes from the way you set up. It's just your nature. You know, my nephew is a pharmacist. He gets stomach churns, you know, when he was going for his exams. He's an incredibly clever guy. Like, you know, he really good looking guy, broad shoulders, narrow hip. Like, he's like,
a bit like you.
Yeah. But you would never think he'd get nervous. You just wouldn't think it, you know. And it's just sometimes the way you build.
Yeah, brilliant. So as you're getting older then and you start teaching, was there anything you can share with us that helped you beat your fear of speaking? Was there anything that you felt built your confidence? Anything that you did? Any tips and tricks that you can share with us as you started your journey into teaching and that fear kind of subsided? Can you sort of put your finger on it, Gray?
Yeah, so when I first started, I would prepare for hours. So if I was delivering something for 10 minutes, I'd prepare for 3 hours.
Wow.
And it was like really, really labour intensive. But it was like, okay, so if I've got this nailed, then nothing can go wrong. So if it's all planned, everything's prepared, nothing can go wrong. And obviously things go wrong. I'm working with children. they do strange things. Yeah. But that did give me a measure of comfort because it meant, okay, I'm all planned. If something does change, I know at least I'm all planned. And then as time goes by, you don't need that level of planning. You start to gain your own confidence and you can respond to sort of fluctuations in the situation. But yeah, that being planned is definitely, and knowing what the outcome is that you want. So if you're starting to do a presentation, if you're starting to think about doing public speaking, what's the actual outcome that you're after? And then work backwards from there. So that's one.
And that's massive, isn't it, Gray? That is massive. And if someone's new to speaking or delivering a presentation, one of the biggest tips you'll ever get is, what's your outcome for the event, for the presentation, for the talk? and work backwards. It sounds a bit weird, but actually when you think about it,
I know it's key. It's key. A lot of people, I mean, when I teach students, they'll start with the first slide of a presentation and go, yeah, but where are you going? Where are you going with that? What's going to be the end result of it? You need to know what the outcome is going to be. If the outcome is to encourage people. Yeah. If the outcome is going to be to inform people, what's the outcome? Yeah. And then you need to stagger back from there. And then you might start off with a funny story or something, but you want
Simon.
Unbelievable. And the alarm's gone off. I apologise, podcasters. Awfulness.
In-depth podcast.
You were like, whoa, in the meat and bones. And the size alarm goes off. Apologies.
was that the timer for me to shut up, was it?
Yeah. Can you hook him off, please?
Get pulled off. You've done that in the past as well when I've been talking. Hey, great. Off. What was your question again? Sorry.
I don't know where
I was explaining about outcomes. Wasn't I? Yeah. So start off with what the outcome's supposed to be, and then sort of build backwards from there. And you can start off with like something interesting, a funny quote or a story or whatever. But unless it leads to the outcome, you're kind of wasting your time with it. And so I always try and think, where do I want to get the person to be? The person who's listening or the student or whatever. Where do I want that to be? Where do I want that outcome to be? And then build backwards from there.
Brilliant. So helpful, Gray. So I'm going to put you on the spot now. Because because you're a bright guy, teacher, all that experience. I want you to think back now to some of the times where you've delivered. So now you've spoken in lots of different settings. Now, me and Graham, back in the day, we're going back 30 years ago, we used to volunteer at a kids club. And I think that's where we cut our teeth. Now, Graham's talked about, social anxiety and being terrified. I suffered with my nerves so much. I'm quite an emotional person. And to keep my emotions, I was literally shaking before I go on to speak. Now, Graham's talking about your tip was to say, well, it was all in your prep. And for me, it was the same. It was if I didn't practice 10, 15, 20 times, I would really struggle. But I think we were both very nervous back in the day when we were teenagers. We both come a long way. But I still have to hide my nerves now. I think you said, you've got nerves today, haven't you, etc. So just, can you pick out any stories, whether things where it's gone terribly wrong or times where it's gone really, really, really.
There's going to be a list now of all these kids.
There's a story I know. I'm not sure if you're going to say it. But yeah. So good or bad? The good, the bad, and the ugly. What have you got for us, Gray? Come on.
Okay. So actually, part of what we do in the school is we go to the Anglican Cathedral to have like prize giving or whatever. And I was delivering the speech to the students saying, and we need to be presentable, we need to be all sharp and dressed, and make sure that you're paying attention. And as I'm going through all this list, my mind's starting to go a bit blank. So as I'm thinking, I've forgotten what I'm going to say. And then, so we're getting towards the end, and of course, make sure your mobile phone's turned off. My mobile phone goes like the psycho music right in front of 600 students.
As you do.
And they, to be fair to them, they were good. They didn't all like burst out laughing. But there was a few that let rip a little bit. But yeah, so like, make sure you turn your phone off, Si.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
But another thing that I did learn, a tip that I did learn, is I was doing like a junior counselling course, and it was called the ABC of emotions. So you have like the activating event, and then the belief system, and then your consequent emotion. So you and I might walk, we all three of us might walk into a room, everyone's laughing. One person walks into that room, so there's the activating event, everyone's laughing. My belief system, your belief system might be different. So I might walk into that and go, everyone's laughing at me. Consequent emotion, I feel embarrassed. Caitlin might walk into the room, everyone's laughing. This is a great place to be, because that's the kind of person that Caitlin is. She's dead upbeat. So
I would as well. I'd walk and be like, hey, what's
bring
it on?
When can I dance? When can I sing?
Yeah.
Well, so when I covered that in a bit of a counselling course, I went, right, so that's how I feel, that's how other people feel. So when I'm delivering something, people might have come into that room and their emotions might be, I've got difficulties at home, or I've got it might be a child who's got problems elsewhere. Okay, so how do you get them to feel the same consequent emotion when everybody's slightly different? So getting people to sort of buy into whatever you're saying and understanding what it is that you're trying to get across. I kind of learned that strategy quite a long time ago. It was good for me as a person, but it was good for me as a presenter to go, okay, where do I want them? Not just the outcome, how do I want them to feel? So sometimes I do assemblies and I want the students to feel sad because I want them to have empathy. Sometimes I do assemblies and I want the students to feel excited because it's like there's a challenge to go for. So sometimes you've got to think about what would that belief system be in the middle.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Now, I know you've spoken in a variety of settings down the years. I know you've spoken in front of groups of hundreds of students and adults. I want you to think about a time where, and I'm not asking you to show off or boastful, but just share with us because it's helpful. Some of your best talks, presentations that you've ever delivered. Can you tell us what they were and why do you believe you had such a strong connection and why did it go so well? Can you share with us what were the reasons?
Okay, well, that's a big question. What's the best?
Have a minute if you want.
Yeah, I'll tell you one of the best ways I got. I'll give you 2 things where. That's a 3. I don't do maths. I actually do teach maths in the 6th form. We'll do that again. 2 things. So one. This works really well, and you might use it for speaking in. Okay, we're going to do it live with you, and hopefully the people at home will try and fit it in as well. Okay, so I'm going to put you. You've asked me loads of questions. I'm going to ask you some questions.
Okay.
So you've got to think of a number between 1 and 10.
Okay.
Okay. Then you're going to double that number.
Yeah.
You're then going to add 6.
Yeah.
Okay. So you now should have a total number in your head. Okay. Divide that number by 2.
Yeah.
And then take away the number that you first thought of.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay. So you should have one single number in your head. All the other ones have gone. Just one single number in your head. Okay. So we've got a bit of literacy and numeracy going on here. So that's the numeracy bit done. So literacy. If your number was 1, you associate that to a letter in the alphabet, and that would be most logically A. If it was 2, it would be B. C, it'd be 3, and so on all through the alphabet. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so you got your number, allocate that to a letter in the alphabet.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you a quick
following?
fire
Are you
round the
following?
questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Going to quick fire around the questions. I'm going to ask you to think of things beginning with the letters. Okay, so the first thing is, with that letter, think of the first vegetable that comes to your head.
Vegetable.
Do we say it out loud?
Nope, just think of it. Okay. Then go up one letter in the alphabet. So if you started with a B, go to a C. If you started with an F, go up one letter. Okay, so the next thing is think of a country beginning with that letter.
Yeah.
Okay? And then go up and think of one more letter and go up and think of a animal beginning with that letter. Okay, so I did this in front of 600 parents and students, and over 90% all thought of an elephant eating carrot in Denmark. What
Did you get that?
I thought of courgette, which is really annoying. But I went to Denmark.
I got an elephant in Denmark.
There you go. So that's all just mental sort of suggestion.
Wow.
And the reason I did it was I said, right, I need to get you thinking the way I'm thinking. So I'm going to plant this in your head. And the reason it works is you should end up with the number 3. And then the C, the first thing you think of, because it's bright orange, is a carrot.
Yeah.
But courgette, obviously.
That's just weird, isn't it?
So that worked really well. And then within the same speech, I was talking to the parents about careers and to students trying to aim for the best career that's suitable for them. And we used to have this careers package where the students would put in answers to questions. Do you like working with animals? Do you like working with with maths? Do you like loads of answers to the questions? And I said, I do this exact same thing. So I do it every single year. Okay, and my 3rd place suggestion is that I'm a design technology teacher. My 2nd place suggestion is that I'm a mechanical engineer. And I said, I'm both of those. And my 1st place suggestion was, I'm a male model. But there's no camera on the computer.
It's all right, you got the camera now.
I know, yeah. So I was doing that in front of 600 students and parents.
Brilliant.
So, but the point of it is, I got them.
Yeah.
I got them on side
Got their attention,
earlier on.
yeah.
So if you said that to 600 male students, it's an all boys school, they'd just laugh at you, wouldn't they? But I got everybody on side, so that was.
Yeah.
So you asked me to pick a point of what I can remember as being a
brilliant.
good one. They were just strategies that I used to make it a good one, and the outcome was great.
But they're brilliant. But great to do that, you've got to be supremely confident. Now, I know you've built your confidence up over the years, and I know you've told us that you built your confidence and sort of helped deal with your fear because it was all about the prep to death. For me, it's similar. It's practice. You're only as good as you practice. So, can you share some tips with us as we're going to start sort of coming towards the end of the podcast now and finish off with a few things? But as we close, just to share with us how you've built your confidence. So, besides the prep, is there any tips and tricks you can share with us that you felt down the years have built your confidence to become a better speaker? I mean, just to do those icebreakers and those engaging activities. Where'd you get the confidence to do that? Because I know people who wouldn't do that in a million years. They do presentations and have to speak, but wouldn't dream of doing an icebreaker activity like that. So where'd you get your confidence from to do that? Has it happened overnight, or has it taken years to get there?
No, it's happened slowly over time. I can be quite an outgoing person, you know, I'll sing and do all kinds of stuff like that. But I was really, really anxious about doing it all. So I just kind of grew in my confidence to do it by taking little steps towards doing that. So the first few presentations I did, I wouldn't do those kind of activities. I would throw in the odd little bit here and there, thinking that will be okay. It's not a big risk. That'll be okay.
So
that will work.
Yeah.
And I also get to know your audience. So sometimes you can't do that. But if you know the type of audience you're going to speak to, you'll know how receptive they are to the kind of things that you're going to say. So if you're walking into a group of young people and you do the sort of heads and tails toy and cost thing, so you get them to put their hands on their heads if they think it's going to be a head, or on their tails if they think it's going to be a tail, you can get people on side straight away. If you're going into a big business setting, like a load of professors, you're probably not going to do that. So you probably need to just pitch it. So I suppose over time, I've just built that level of a confidence to be able to say, right, this is the strategy I'm going to take in this arena. You know, and I've done lots of different sort of speaking. I've worked for, I forgot to mention at the start, I've worked for AQA doing sort of face-to-face, which is one of the exam boards, face-to-face presentations, but also online ones. And so you just need to sort of have that little bit of time in your mind to go, okay, what's going to happen next? Because you can quite easily allow the sort of excitement of it but if you just build a bit of time into your own mind, like, I've said that and I know I'm going to say this, but that takes a bit of practice to get to that point. But yeah, know your outcome, know your audience, how many people have got, you know, sort of high reading ages or low reading ages. Make sure if it's doing a PowerPoint, dual coding, so images that go with the pictures. The number of bad presentations I've seen where it's just loads of words and you're expecting this person who doesn't know what you know to understand all those words, so just key words and you fill in the blanks. But that tends to be a nervous presenter will have the whole thing on a PowerPoint and they're reading from it. So that's a bad idea. Turn around, it's on. So there's your audience, but you turn around to look at the PowerPoint. And it's just those things, you pick it up over years of like training. But I also, I use my knowledge to train my youngsters. So we do this thing called Learning for Life, where the students are supposed to cover all the sort of issues that aren't covered in the lessons. And I get them to present that. So I will get them, they stand up for 5 minutes, and every single student in the 30 students that I've got, they'll stand up for 5 minutes once a week and they'll present to their peers. So that I'm trying to get them to overcome their nerves from like year 7, year 8. So,
and you told me that, and I think that's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, I think that would have been really helpful for me in school if my teachers had done that for me. So
it's a safe environment, and I make sure it's safe. So like some students are nervous about doing it, and if they don't want to do it, they don't have to do it. But I say, next year have a go at doing it, or next term have a go at doing it, or I might just do it with them. Yeah. So I'll start it, but then I'll just go on the keyboard and let them talk.
Yeah.
Some of them have been outstanding. They're like
really?
Unbelievable. Yeah, really? Unbelievable. Really? Unbelievably good. Like can control the whole class of their peers and deliver an amazing speech.
So you're saying if you hadn't given that platform to them, you wouldn't have known they were that good?
No, I wouldn't have known they were that good. Wow. And I also wouldn't have known the ones who weren't as good,
who needed the encouragement,
the confidence boost. Yeah.
Well, I agree with Caitlin. I think if I never had anything like that at school, I was terrified of reading out. And I was a podcast, I think.
It was us.
I think was it yours? I was terrified. The English teacher used to absolutely slaughter me. I was terrified. Now, for me and Caitlin, that would have been so helpful.
Yeah.
Just for me to deal with my own nerves. So, but it's such a simple idea. It's not rocket science. I know you're a mechanical engineer, etc., but it's not. You don't need a degree in mechanical engineering, do you, to give a young person that kind of platform?
And some students, they might go to church, so they get a chance to read out things in church, or they might go to cadets, so they have those opportunities. But a lot of students don't.
Yeah.
And so we've got to somehow create those opportunities. So if you get the training in and the exposure a little bit earlier, then when they get to sort of adult stages, then I've done that in the past. That's no big deal. I can do that.
podcasters.
I agree.
There are so many speaking gems in this episode from Mr. Graham Ricardo Richards. Now, this is all unscripted. We've given Graham an idea of what we're going to talk about, which is basically how does he beat his fear of speaking, talk about some of his top influences. But this is all unscripted. So for the way that Graham's spoken so coherently and so beautifully, because he's an ex-male model, it's been absolutely brilliant. Now, little interlude. Now, you might not know this, podcasters, but this is I think it's about our 4th episode, and I'm not sure if it's going to come out as number 4, but hopefully it will. And we do a little interlude. We're doing a little interlude in every episode. But the reason we do it is actually to help you. We've done it a few times, but we're going to tell you why we do this. And it's linked to what Graham was saying before about engaging your audience. And it's a little icebreaker. It's a little activity, a little game you can use in a presentation. It might be with a small group, a big group. But it's a simple activity. Now, if you're speaking to a group, especially, it's great with young people, but online, again, how bored have we got over the last 2 years sitting behind a screen, bored off our skulls because of COVID? And on quite a few calls I've done, I've thrown this activity in. And the amount of people have said, Si, that's the best call I've had. And all we've done is a little activity, but you've got to break the monotony, haven't you? So, Speak and Win presenters are getting beat 1-0 here, Caitlin, so you need to pull your finger out here.
Okay.
Guess to beat 1-0. So it's going to be guess the celebrity in my head.
Do we have to limber up
You
this?
can ask.
Stretch, is it?
Yeah, I know
is it like
he's
one of our
very-
normal icebreakers?
He's very... Now, actually, Graham is the king of the icebreakers, and a lot of the icebreakers that I have got from Speak and Win actually come from the main man, Ricardo. So we've got a lot to thank him for. Now, he is going to start presenting for us, so he can use his own icebreakers when he starts presenting. So, I've got an amazing celebrity in my head, but they are amazing speakers.
Okay.
They are brilliant at talking, very, very vocal. Excellent communicators. So I can only say yes or no. We've got 60 seconds. And Jacob, if you can flip, if you can get that minute on the clock for us, that'll be amazing. We've got a minute on the clock. He's just so techy, isn't he? He's incredible.
I know that took like 10 seconds even.
And the lineup, and it's Graham from Caitlin, and they're off. Okay,
So I get to ask you a question?
Yes.
Male?
Yes.
Oh.
Oh no, I'm stressed.
Get his profession.
Is he an actor?
No.
Oh.
Sports personality?
No.
Singer?
No.
Dancer?
No. Once you get the profession, you're going to get it.
Presenter?
Presenter, yes. 45 seconds left. Come on, Caitlin.
As a partnership as a presenter?
No. Good question.
Oh, so he's on his own.
He's a solo.
Okay.
He's flying solo.
Flying solo. Graham Norton?
Oh my days!
Results.
What's going on? You've let Speak and Win down. You've let yourself down.
I've had enough.
You've let the
I'm not playing this
university
again.
down. How did he even get?
It's not fair.
How did he even get that?
Because it's suggested my name's Graham. It's the first thing you thought of.
What was it? It was Liam as well. It was like 2 questions and he got it.
It's 2-0 here. This is not good.
Sorry.
Absolutely brilliant.
Right, well, at least it's time to go home.
Now, what we've done each week, we've also wanted to throw a quote that was related to speaking, beating your fear of speaking, or something really inspirational. So I want to share this with you now. Last week, the quote that we had was, I can really relate to this, and I'll share it with you again. But the quote last week was, stop worrying about things that can go wrong and start getting excited about things that can go right.
That's a good one.
What a great quote. Now, I never heard that before, and I've been speaking for like decades. I'd never heard, but what a great quote. Now, what feedback would you give me from that? What does that mean to you?
It's actually quite scientific as well, because the chemical reactions that go in my body that would make me feel nervous are the same chemical reactions that would make me feel excited. So if I was going to Alton Towers, it's the same chemical reactions. It's just that we've learned that one means it's a bad thing and one means it's a good thing. So one of the reasons, you asked me for, but one of the things I do is, if I'm feeling nervous, I go, that's a good thing, because this is an exciting situation. It's a good thing. So that's right. Exactly right. That's
no, it's a brilliant quote, isn't it?
It
And
is
I can share it with our podcasters. I can remember back in the day when I was preparing my first few, when I was speaking for the first time as a teenager to small groups of young people, that I used to practice about 10 times to beat my nerves. I was literally shaking. I was so nervous. After the first couple of practices, it was like a dog's dinner. It stunk the place out. But I can remember, and again, testimony to this quote, that it's true and it works. After 10, 15 goes, I was buzzing to go and do that. So this is going to be amazing. It'll do this. It'll have this outcome. It'll do this. It'll have this effect. And it's so true. And so the only way you can get excited about your presentation, your talk, etc., is to do the prep, do your practice. There's no app you can download that'll just, little cheat code for you. No one's made one. It's just good old fashioned practice is the only way I feel to beat the nerves. Now, if we can come up with an app.
That might be our next thing.
I'll be sitting on the beach in Mauritius sipping pina coladas, but it's...
You know what's terrible of me? I am not a big fan of the prep or the practice. I am very much rip the Band-Aid off. But saying that, I like to look at where I'm doing this presentation before. So like in work, I know if I'm going to, I teach classrooms in the aquarium as well. I need to go into the classroom beforehand, look at my classroom, be like, I know what I'm doing. But I don't take all the classroom sets home and be like, oh, we need to do this, we need to talk about that, we need to do this. Because that'll stress me out more. I'll be like, oh, I've not said that today and that's messed up.
Well, we're all different, Caitlin, and that's very honest. And we're all different, and we all prepare and approach in different ways. And what's comfortable for you and works for you, that's fine. We're just trying to share tips and techniques. Graham, so he's talked about prep. I talked about practice. You like to be quite spontaneous, I suppose.
As long as I know the room, it's okay.
Yeah. Now, this is where we're different. I couldn't do that because I'd be like Matty Back from the last episode. I'd be literally having kittens. I don't know about Graham, but I need to have some level of preparation.
I've kind of evolved a bit. I can cope without it now. I could probably walk into most places and just deliver some kind of speech or, if I knew what it was supposed to be about.
Yeah.
But I also know that my mind can go blank at times when the nerves kick in, but then I've learned to just embrace that and go, it's fine, isn't it? Because I'm a human being. The people I'm talking to are human beings. It's fine. It's not a problem. Nothing's going to go massively wrong. I might do it well. I might do it not so well, but nothing's going to go massively wrong. So just don't worry about it. Just enjoy it.
Brilliant. Well,
exactly.
We've regurgitated last week's quote. Today's quote to inspire us about, building our strength for speaking is from the amazing Brian Tracy. Now, he's an American-Canadian motivational speaker. He's written 80 books. Incredible. He's all over TikTok. He's all over social media. And if you put motivational speaker in, Brian Tracy just blows up my feed. So he's absolutely incredible. He must be in his 80s now. I'm not sure if he's still going, but he's a cracking guy. And he has come up with this quote. So this is what Brian Tracy said. Move out of your comfort zone. To do that, you can only grow if you're willing to feel awkward and uncomfortable when you try something new. Let me just say that again so it just sinks in. To move out of your comfort zone, you can only grow if you're willing to feel awkward and uncomfortable when you try something new. So Graham and Caitlin, I'll go to Graham first. What does that mean to you? What can you pick out from that?
Well, that's pretty much the epitome of what happened to me. I had to move out of the comfort zone because I was hemmed in. So to make a difference, you've got to move out of it.
I think we were on the same wavelength. As I've picked that quote, I think we were definitely in tune there. Two peas in a pod, weren't we?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Caitlin, what does it mean to you?
That is so true, because that's a lot what me and the other Grace said in our podcast. But I know I've said to you before, I have anxiety, so everything is kind of uncomfortable and awkward every time I do it. But I do it every single day, and now look at me.
Yeah, it's such a brilliant quote. It's so inspirational. What we say to our speaker and audiences, whether we're working with youth groups or working with adults, we say, as long as it's safe, as long as it's legal, try stuff that's awkward, uncomfortable, and push through it. It's the only way you can build your confidence. And we bang on about it, and we have been for years and years. And if it's not uncomfortable, you're not pushing yourself. And Graham's given a brilliant, very clear, coherent example of, from his life story and his speaking journey, that it's so important. Get out your comfort zone, and look where he is now. An absolutely amazing career in teaching. So that's really helpful. Okay, time is gone. So we're going to finish off by saying, well, what we'll do, Caitlin, is if you can just share with our listeners about the different platforms we've got and where they can hear about our amazing podcasts, etc.
So we've got them all. We've got Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We've got our own website. We've got LinkedIn. We've got YouTube. Everything you could possibly want or need, you'll find it. Speak and Win. At Speak and Win is Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Website is speakandwin.co.uk.
Yeah.
.co.uk. Just Google it. You'll find us somewhere.
So please share our Speak and Win episode with Graham today. Share it with your friends, your family, your contacts, anyone you know who needs to, have a bit of a rocket put under them, or, was lacking in a bit of confidence, I'm sure they'll be really inspired by Graham's story. No one starts off as a complete speaker. Brian Tracy, who we've mentioned, he's written 80 books. He's a world-renowned motivational speaker. But Graham certainly didn't start off as the finished article. He's had to work at it for years. And if you start working on it every day, little by little, eventually you'll grow in confidence and get to an amazing level. Okay, so all I need to do now is just to say thank you to Graham. Graham, how's it been for you? Just share with us Just give us your thoughts.
I was marginally nervous first podcast when I first arrived, but it's been great. I've enjoyed it. Yeah, no, it's not bad, is it? Spending time with one of my best friends and spending time with Caitlin. It's not a bad idea, is it? So, and one thing I will say though. 30 odd years ago, Simon, when I was a bit worried about doing this children's work, it was actually Simon who was the person who gave me tons of encouragement. So if someone is there giving you that encouragement, accept it.
Yeah.
Don't
and
think,
do something
that doesn't
awkward
mean...
and uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly. And I did. You made me do all kinds of children's work. But yes, but the same Simon who encouraged me then is spearheading this. So this is great to be involved.
Yeah. Oh no, Graham, it's been lovely. Caitlin, what would you say has been some encouragements for you today? What's been inspiring for you from Graham's story?
All kinds, everything you do has been so good. And I work a lot with children as well, so it's really nice to hear it from someone else who works with a lot of children. And even I'm going to take stuff away from this, so hopefully everybody else who listens does. But yeah, thank you for coming.
Brilliant. More podcasts to come. Podcast as well, whether you're listening or whether you're viewing. Speaking When is sending you much love. Don't forget, build the courage to speak and start winning in life. Speak you next time.
If you've enjoyed listening to us today, and if you love Listen and Win, you can find more of our podcasts on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Or if you just want to learn more about Speak and Win and who we are and what we do, you can find us on Instagram and TikTok and LinkedIn. And we also have our own website, so come and give us a Google.